Most people forget 90% of what happens at an event, the meal, the speeches, even the music, but they'll always remember one thing: how they felt in the moments that were truly extraordinary. That's the science of astonishment, and it's why magic has such a powerful impact at events. It doesn't just entertain, it creates memories that last a lifetime. Hello, I'm Matthew Lamotte, 3 times Magic Champion and Doctor of Magic, and I've performed at hundreds of weddings, corporate events and private parties. And time after time, I hear the same thing from the people who book me. Our guests are still talking about your magic months later. And there's a scientific reason behind why that happens. When you experience something astonishing, your brain reacts in a very particular way. First, you get a surge of dopamine, the brain's reward signal. It fires when something unexpected or better than predicted happens, creating that rush of delight, surprise, and excitement. Then, neuroadrenaline, closely linked to adrenaline, kicks in, sharpening your focus and heightening your senses. This chemical cocktail marks the moment as important, strengthening the way it's stored in the long-term memory. Psychologists call this a flashbulb moment, a vivid snapshot of an event that feels unforgettable. It's the same mechanism that makes people recall exactly where they were when something dramatic or emotional happened in their lives. That's why at a party, guests can forget the menu, the decorations, even entire conversations, but years later they still remember the exact moment a magician made the impossible feel real in their hands. So here are the 3 ingredients that make astonishment so sticky in the mind and how they can transform your event. Surprise. Astonishment begins with surprise. Something happens that shouldn't be possible. A borrowed ring vanishes, a thought revealed, a card changes in their hands. That jolt of surprise snaps people out of autopilot. For a moment, the world doesn't make sense, and that's what makes them pay attention. In psychology, this is called a violation of expectation. When reality feels broken, the brain says, pay attention, this matters. Number 2 is emotion. Surprise alone isn't enough. The moment must be charged with emotion. Great magic, delivered coldly, is quickly forgotten. But when astonishment is wrapped in warmth, humour, drama, it transforms into an experience people feel. Laughter, joy, shock, wonder. Emotions like these act as glue. They bind the memory so tightly that it endures far longer than ordinary moments. That's why at events you see guests laughing, cheering, even jumping out their seats. They're not just watching magic, they're feeling it. Number 3, connection. Finally, the magic must be personal. When it's their ring, their signed card, their thought of word, the astonishment becomes part of their story. And when people feel ownership of a magical moment, they don't just remember it, they retell it again and again. At weddings, that means magic that makes the couple feel celebrated. At corporate events, it means magic that brings colleagues together. At private parties, it means magic that gets strangers talking. Connection makes astonishment memorable because it's their story. I was once performing at a private dinner and I had a coin melt and bend inside a man's hand. He gasped, laughed, and immediately called over his friends. And then years later, at another event, he came up to me and said, I still have that coin and I keep it on my bedside table. It wasn't about the coin, it was about the connection, the fact that he was at the centre of that moment. And that's the science of astonishment in action. There's also a social element here. Astonishment isn't just remembered by the person it happens to, it's contagious. When one person reacts with shock or laughter, everyone around them catches it. That's why magic doesn't just entertain individuals, it unites the room. It gives guests a shared story, a talking point, something they'll all reference for the rest of the night. So why do guests remember magic? Because astonishment combines surprise, emotion, and connection. It flips a switch in the brain that says, hold on to this memory, and when that moment is shared, it lives on far beyond the event itself. And if you like this video, you'll probably like this one too. In a bit. That's why magic doesn't just entertain individuals, it